live. It says that I'm live. Am I? Actually, can anyone hear me? Can I? Am I? Thought I was live. It says I'm live. I don't know. Oh. Don't forget to post to Twitter. Thank you. I'm going to post to Twitter, the Facebook, the Tumblr. Sorry, it takes a minute. Hello, Nathaniel Foga. Hello, Cornbread. Thank you for the reminder. Hello, Zodberg. Hello, Cornbread again. Hello, Purple Goop. Hello, Sir. Jordan Salafalo, Sinram, Austin. I wanted to say hello to you earlier, but it was too much going on. It's so fucking good to be back doing this show. Oh my god. But thank you all for fucking being here. Sinram sent me a great article, which I will talk about. Everyone, Instagram. I don't really do the Instagram on the thing. I should maybe. I don't think Instagram. Anyway. But hello, everyone. Let's just switch to everything posted. You are posted. You are posted. I think you're posted. Anyway, sorry to be doing that at the last minute there. I think I did everything there. Madagascaran, bro. What? Bruh? I don't understand that Emblood T. Medela Butterfly, hello. Alright, I guess I'm the only thing live for New York because of the writer's strike. And hello. Welcome to Movie Crap Live. We are here. We are live. I am going to move things around, trim the beard up a little bit, if you saw. It's about bodies. What? I'm confused. All right. Yes. It's here. Okay, anyway. It's been a weird day for various reasons that I'm not going to get into. Everything's okay. This isn't a kitchen. You're right. We actually haven't filmed in this location for Movie Crap Live in a little bit, or a review. I'm always shooting in the bedroom there. It's Alan Moore. It's me, Alan Moore. That's how he talks. Everyone knows that. But, yeah, I hope you all are doing well. I am so happy. Hello, Super Dusky is watching this. I think that's how you say your name. From a fire pit, they said on their phone, which is pretty fucking cool. Yeah, the Knock Horse Hour is coming. That's true. Rude Boys Podcast. Hello. Been crazy lately. I wanted to get more out this week, but didn't work out, obviously. But I'm here now, and I actually had a good night right before I actually did some cool song stuff for Film Rod Video, and it went really well. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. I should do more work on music right before the show because I feel energized. In all seriousness, because I got something accomplished, which is always hard. Body brokers? I don't know what you're talking about, Emblood T, but good for you. Thank you, Rude Boys. But yeah, life is always a struggle, and there's always a lot going on. There's always too much going on. I guess the only part of the show I talk about this or online. And I don't want to be one of those people on Twitter be like, if only this or whatever. But I'm always happy to make stuff, and I'm glad to be making this tonight and talking about this. The one thing I guess that is going to be a little different. You watched Tombstone? Did I miss that? I'm so lost on this Tombstone thing. I'm sorry. Did I have a connection to the movie Tombstone? Man, I look pale as shit in these on the YouTube. Anyway, well, it's good for you. It's a good movie, as I recall. I'm a little lost on the Tombstone thing. Yeah. Now I remember. I did? I'm so lost on the Tombstone thing. Anyway, explain it to me later, Austin. I think I'm a little confused. But, so because of the WGA strike, and because it's probably going to... Oh, you're trying to do a movie a week thing. Okay, cool. Okay, well, good. You should do a movie a week, and Tombstone is a good choice. I would recommend watching earlier Clint Eastwood first. The Rick Dalton cameo in it, nice. Anyway, so with the WGA strike, if you're wondering how am I going to do the show, because as we've talked about before, maybe I should turn down the lights. I might do that before we start the show proper. I will try to be filling out with more segments. We're doing 2 segments tonight. One on Wet City, which is an Adult Swim pilot by the guys who made Fired on Mars. I could not find the Fired on Mars short, so I couldn't do that. I would like to review the Fired on Mars short. I would just like to see the Fired on Mars short. If any of you know how to get it, there's a lot of places say they have it and don't. But hey, I get to review the other thing, and that's cool too. But yes, and I'm also doing starting up my Gorillaz thing again with reviewing the Gorillaz video for Dare. But yeah, I'm probably going to do 2, maybe even 3 segments if we start running out of movie news, which is a real possibility. During this, I will still at least do a monthly stream. I always try to do more than a monthly stream. I want you guys to know that. I was actually trying to do one last week and this week, but it's just impossible between everything I do and kids and all that stuff. But know that I'm actually working on other things, and I don't know. I try to use as much time as I can scrape together to make some of this stuff. But yeah, you don't want to hear me complain about this. Is the only time I really talk about this stuff. So I apologize if I'm coming off weird. I just finished something I'm really proud of. When you eventually get to hear it, you'll know. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting film art video drop. The only other 2 things is my Fired on Mars review will come out Tuesday, and I will, if you're a patron, my movie review vote winners video will be out probably Sunday or Monday. I'm sorry it took so long. It's more just because this week was fucking nuts. I did unlist the video because I filmed it and counted all the votes, so that is done, but it will be released before the other thing. Anyway, I'm going to lower these lights because they look a little harsh, and then we'll get into the main thing, and then we'll start, and as soon as I get a super chat, I'll review a different energy drink. So let me lay that out there while I lower this, because they're really bright. While I was bopping along to making some songs, I didn't think about that. But, who watched A Fist for It last month eventually got to check out the other Mammoth. Oh, that's cool. Good for you, Super Dusky. That's cool. All right. I will be right back. I didn't foresee. Hold on. Let's lower it a little bit. Okay. What, oh, I'm glad. Medela Butterfly. Oh, that's too much. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay. I don't think I have anything else. Been developing stuff. Got to see Saber when he was in New York. That was cool. He's nice, if you didn't know. I'm a part of the Drawn Together video, and there's a certain part that when you see that video, all I'm gonna say is I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say there's a part, and it was the part you're like, what the fuck? That's the part I did. That I can say that with extreme confidence. But I won't tell you what it is. Anyway, I do have a Red Bull. Not telling you what it, or sorry, I have an energy drink. It is not a Red Bull. That was not me messing up, actually. There is a super chat, I will reveal it. However, let's get into the thing. If you have not liked the Drawn Together video, there's the Drawn Together video. He has hyped that up. I'm not revealing too much, and I worked on it, which you may have. Anyway, you'll see when it happens. All right. So this and everything I do is supported by you, the fans, either through my Patreon, which is linked below, or through Super Chats during the show, where I drink mystery energy drink, which is right here, which I won't reveal. And It helps me do everything from publicize the show with stickers and flyers to get new equipment to let me continue to do this. It all goes to continuing the show and everything like that. Um, as long as you are financially able to do so, thank you very much. If you're not, just giving a like on this video always helps no matter what. Um, Hold on, I will get to you in a second, Austin. Uh, as long as you're financially able to do so, please, but if not, subscribing, there's all sorts of good stuff like community posts. You get to know when these videos come out. You get notified when I go live, everything like that. It helps support the channel as well, and liking and just watching. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for watching. All right. So I've wanted to do this one for a while because it was like trendy, and also it's an energy drink, and it was at my grocery store. So this Guru, never had it. I have no clue what it's going to taste like, so it's going to be interesting. This is a live taste test. Okay. Let's see how this is. This for real tastes like I don't tastes like medicine. Anyway, that's one tonight. Put it next. Let's just put it back there, kind of on display. Yeah. I will say this. Next time, I want to. Oh, hello, Nattenbox64. I really want to get Prime, the fucking Jake Paul thing. I will get Prime next time. I think I can find it. I don't know if there's a Prime flavor I'm supposed to get. Unless you all do not want me to get Prime. If you're like super against it, I won't. And just go back to the Rock. But I keep hearing about it, so we will do that. Anyway, thank you very much, Austin. That was cool of you. Austin got the big reveal. Anyone else would like me to drink that, which is okay. And yeah, also always could use the support. Thank you very much for that, Austin. All right. What else? Also, if you like everyone in the chat and Austin, everyone, Nathaniel Fogg just wants me to go back to the Rock. The Rock will probably be the staple, but we'll see. Fast X Red Bull. Don't do Prime NFT. Okay, never mind. I think this Prime thing is turning on me. Also, if you are a fan, if you like everyone in the chat and would always like to hang out there, I would recommend joining the Discord. There are a lot of cool people on there. There's a lot of good channels. There's General, which is actually pretty cool. I try to hop in there. You can go to there's Ask Jim section where you can ask me questions. There's all sorts of channels about gaming, promote your art, ask me questions, all sorts of cool people. They have movie nights, lots of neat stuff, and it's a really great community that everyone has built. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I like to hang out with these people, very welcoming and cool. And I'm going to say this, I don't have one with me. I was going to say, well, anyway, I don't have one with me, but I will say, if you join the Discord and message me, I will send you some stickers because I have some stickers, as well as if you're a patron as well, message me because I'm trying to mail out some stickers and stuff like that. So if anyone wants some stickers, DM me either on Discord or on Patreon, and I will send you away some of the Film Ride video series. It says movie reviews and cartoons, and if you place it or post it somewhere, I will take a picture. I will repost it. I don't have new cards. I have the same cards, but we have licensed playing cards. It's like the same cards. These have lasted for some reason. They're kind of on their last legs though. Yes. Also follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. There's a Instagram kind of Reels thing, which is just the TikTok or the YouTube Shorts, and the Tumblr, Facebook, all that stuff. It's all in the description down below. Follow me on each of them if you want to just support or just want me on those various social media platforms. My main stuff is like Twitter, TikTok, and this, obviously. And, subscribe here if you haven't already. I highly recommend you do. It always helps. All right. Is that everything? That's all my things? I guess so. All right. Let's get into it. It has been a wild day Fronters. I don't know what that is. Currently playing Frontierers, Fronterfers. I don't know. What is that? Is that a thing? All right. Oh, Energy. I watched that Tetris movie and it was pretty cool. I don't know if I'll get to put out a review of it. Probably won't. I still use Tumblr. I mean, I don't know. I was gonna stop, and it just seemed like people. There's still people who like want to watch my stuff on there, so I kind of kept it around. All right. What? Why do I have? Oh, I see what I did there. Okay, you're here. Script is here. Chat is here. All right. So, the WGA strike. Let's get into it. It's honestly really going to be a major strike and could go on for a while. And I'm going to talk about all those things. And there's a lot of complications to it currently. I think it is probably going to settle down in some ways and in other ways get worse. And I'm going to get into all of that. But basically the main things the writers are asking for, the main thing they are going to tell you, and this isn't like I'm against them, I support, by the way, the writers going on strike, I think they should, is getting basically a pay increase which totals to 429 million across the industry. I noticed the percentage, everyone says a 2 to 3%, but it's for 429 million is what they keep saying, so I don't know, which is really nothing, and they've actually lost more during the strike. Now, a lot of people have said that since it's sort of not a big percentage, why aren't they just paying it? It's sort of weird that the studios are like, well, we're just not going to do that. The main thing seems to be the other issues, those being the mini rooms, which if you're a writer on a TV show, they used to have larger writers' rooms, and now they have these mini rooms, and the show orders are shorter, and there's less pay involved, or they'll pay people for a day, which is common occurrence now. It used to be sort of a weird thing, like you could only get someone for a certain day. But I'm the only movie crap writer, and I'm not in the WGA, so and I don't think they'd want me. I don't think I make enough. But basically, the main things they were against is that they're really pushing is that there should be a minimum of writers, about 10 or so, in a room, as well as they do not want AI to be used for writing. And apparently those are major sticking points for the studios, which is concerning, especially because wages have actually gone down since the last strike. Now, one thing to keep in mind, so a lot of people are considering like the fact that they're demanding the studios have a certain amount of writers, have writers be around more, because what's happening is a lot of shows have complained that the showrunners don't know what they're doing, because the showrunners are writers who in the old days, they used to be, you're a writer and you're allowed to go on set and you learn about showrunning and learn about and you'd learn about running the show on set. But since none of them have on-set experience, when they do become showrunners, they're terrible at it. So a lot of this is like them going like, hey, the economics of this doesn't work. None of this works for our industry, and we really need to change some of these things. And the studio is basically like, no. And that's weird. And a lot of people are wondering like what their ultimate plan is, which I will get into the AI thing after this. Now, this could go on for various reasons, and I actually have a question that was going to be at the end, but I'll bring it up right after this. So when you have everybody's I like how all these people are like, who will write your reviews? And oh man, it'd be cool to go on strike, but I think YouTube was like, I mean, we're okay, you're fine, go on strike as long as you want. But the last strike happened in November to February, which is sort of like prime content or time, in terms of content and movies and TV and stuff like that. Whereas between now during the summer, a lot of shows are on hiatus. Although there's certain shows that have been affected and have shut down, like Stranger Things, which I even heard was not going to shut down and then like shut down the next day. After I'd heard that. I think Daredevil, a lot of stuff is just shut down because of the writers. And apparently the studios are not affected until Labor Day. But the problem is this strike, they're saying the writers are committed to a very long strike. Some people are saying even next year. Some people are saying Christmas, everything like that. Most are saying it could end on Labor Day. Now it changes this, and I will get to this question, because I watch other shows, and a lot of people will answer a question later and be like, oh, well, we already answered that. I'd much rather get you guys involved because I like you guys. I don't want to sound like a dick either. So a guy named Chris Bill says, since SAG-AFTRA and the DJ's respective contracts with the AMPTP expire at the end of the next month, do you think the possibility of both guilds authorizing the strike alongside the WGA be enough to get the movie thing to meet the demands of the guilds and end the strike? So to bring that up is interesting. So here's what we know about the other guilds. The DGA is on a media blackout. So we literally don't know anything and won't know anything for a while on that. However, at the end of the month of, I think it's at the end of June, we might, and they could go on strike. And that's been known for a while. SAG, just at the end of the week, has authorized a vote for a strike if negotiations fail. The negotiations are still going on. If the actors do, I think the actors would majorly fuck shit up, basically. That could majorly fuck shit up. And if all three are on strike, literally the town is shut the fuck down. And so I think the studios will be forced to do that. Now, some of this is also in a thing that I've said many times, how don't trust the Netflix top 10. It is fucking bullshit, and no one knows what those numbers actually are. There's no one to independently verify. Interesting you brought up Adam Conover. I'll bring that up in a second. No one can independently verify those numbers. So those writers can't go to a studio and say, I got 47 million on Netflix. Most of them don't know, or 4 million, or the show is actually a bomb, to be honest with you. Like things like that. They just don't know. Same with like when Reboot ended, they're like, it seemed to me like it was a hit. And then, so most of the actors said that. And then it bombed, and then it was canceled. So I think like the networks and studios don't want to do that. Adam Conover and Adrian brought this up in the chat there, is on the negotiating committee and is a major person in the WGA strike. If you want to understand this more, since they are literally people in the WGA who are literally in the part of the negotiating committee, or closer to what's going on than anyone, his podcast is pretty great in general. I don't listen to every one because some topics I have the emotional bandwidth for, some I'm very interested in, but I love Adam Conover. I love Adam Rooms Everything a lot. But his podcast, he really goes over it with two major people in the WGA. And that is really interesting. I highly recommend that of any podcast about the strike. But he's doing an interesting job. So the thing with this, I do think it's going to go on for a while. But I think the problem is the economy of streaming is changing rapidly, and the economy of studios is changing rapidly. So much so is the Hollywood they come back to is going to be a different Hollywood. And not to spike them, the writers, just because things are changing. Like what was going on at Netflix and streaming is dying. Disney Plus is spending less. Everything is sort of coming to more, like, is slowing down, and they're hitting the brakes. And even the writers they're hiring, recently Marvel has really been investing in veteran writers, not Rick and Morty writers, basically, which they used to. And I think that only really worked out for She-Hulk, to be honest. And Hollywood seems to really want proven track record writers who are actually more expensive, which is an interesting little thing that's been going on. But the world that they are leaving was about to change, and then they went on strike. So the world they come back to, there is going to be less opportunity. So the few people that can have jobs, but they will get paid more, so that's good. I mean, that's just unfortunately what it is. Austin again says Reboot was bad, was bad, and Megabyte but Was it as bad as Megabyte or Matrix? Well, I meant the reboot. There's a sitcom called Reboot. I think you mean the. Do you mean the cartoon? Oh, this is not a good place to put this. This is difficult. Anyway, cheers to you, Austin. But I'm kind of into this. It's like candy. How is this organic? This don't taste no organic. I don't trust that shit. I'm gonna put it over here. I don't know if can you still see it over there? Sort of. Sort of. No. Well, whatever. I don't want to break my arm. Oh, that's the joke. Okay. So that's sort of what's been going on. I think I watch Reboot, actually, the cartoon and the sitcom, but I watch Reboot when it's on Saturday mornings. It was cool. What I think is going to happen is I think because the studios are going to run out of content supposedly around Labor Day because they've stockpiled stuff and they've been moving around the schedule. I honestly really think this is going to end around Labor Day because they're going to run out of content. If every guild starts striking, they are going to be forced to do that. Before that, I think if they go past Labor Day, this could go on for longer, and this could be one of the longest strikes. But they're not in a good place that they've kind of given the WGA a running start, to be honest with you. I do think they're giving them momentum in that they're going to have the spotlight for that many months throughout the summer is a real stupid idea. I don't know what the studios are thinking with that one. I think that's a bit of a ridiculous. Hello, Shoop, baby. Okay. But yeah, that's sort of what's going on. That's all I have really gathered through the whole thing. I would just understand that I'd say at the very least this summer the writer's going to be on strike through all of it. I don't see another way. I think if the guilds all strike, they're going to have to figure something out. And I'd assume you do the WGA first. I also saw Fran Drescher's thing. It was pretty idiotic. I don't I love Fran Drescher as an actress. I really wish she wasn't president of the thing. Like, they cut off health insurance to actors over a certain age. They've done all this really shitty stuff since she's been president. I really don't know. I really don't know what she's doing there. I don't know if it's her, other people there, but I really wish she wasn't. It really spoils people when they have these positions. Then you have to hear how they would handle some of these things. It's just gross. All right. Let's get into it. We're going to do all the... Hey! Marley's here. Okay. We're going to get into AI. We're doing the big shit up first, bro. That's what we're doing. And, yeah, I'm going to drink from my awesome... Oh, not enough water in here. Awesome New Orleans cup, which my mother-in-law gave me a bunch of them. All right. AI. Everybody's talking about it. The chat GPTs. Hello, Jordan. All that cool stuff. Here's my thing with it. And I'm going to go into this now. Because I just said I was. What we know, what are the studios doing with AI is the first thing. Because this is movie crap and all that. We do know, and this has been reported, that the studios what they're basically doing is they're getting public domain material, having AI programs, we don't know what, go through that material and write scripts that after the writer's strike is done, they'll have writers punch up. Which, sure. So there's a couple things. I mentioned Sinram sent me a Gizmodo article where they actually did have a program do that, and they only got the premise worked out okay, but they're not good at writing dialogue and things like that. So I think this is a couple things. One, why would you take something that shows the real beauty and wonderfulness of humanity and take that away instead of the boring bullshit we do? Probably, I think, honestly, because the people who are super into this are not really creative and feel that that's a skill that should be molded to them. Basically, it's the ugliness of corporate American creativity. Is like this idea of like, well, what if I just made hits all the time? And I'm like, oh yeah, motherfucker, I'd like to see you fucking do that shit. Like it's a real stupid ass thing. I always hear people say, it's like, well, what if we had 20 Yellowstones? I'm like, I'm sure every studio would like 20 Yellowstones because of the success they're doing, but that's a stupid fucking thing to say. My thing with this is, as well, like, I think that's stupid. I think we're taking away something that's beautiful in humanity, but I also think is that humans are fucking weird. No AI could have made Star Wars before Star Wars happened. No AI could have made Spider-Man with Steve Ditko's weird ass fucking brain. Like, there's none of that could happen the way it has happened. Like, it's just, I'm sorry, impossible, because computers use logic, and even with the logic and the technology moving. The other thing is, who is consuming this shit? No one. Like, in all seriousness, this is the part I find hilarious, is like, no one can, there's no name in AI, you know what I mean? There's no one like going like, oh, I can't wait till AI program sends me, does this, and I'll follow that YouTube channel. It's just like random weird viral videos of like Wes Anderson Star Wars or something, or Balenciaga Harry Potter or something like that. And that's not like, oh, Easy Rider happened, or Blair Witch and we're all gonna follow. It's just literal viral things, and that's all it's really been so far. And I just don't see that as a, like, no one's marketing a name. And that's sort of like, if you abandon all that makes the studio special, and auteurism and everything like that, then sure, maybe it could work. But I just don't see that right now. Like, no one's talked about marketing it. No one's talked about like how you would do that. But before you get into Sidaram, with a very nice super chat, said a computer program can't review a movie because it can't watch a movie or understand a movie. That's actually a really good sentiment. Cheers to you, Sidaram. But one thing that's been going around, and I kind of think it's interesting, but when the more I looked into it, the more I realized it was just people kind of puffing up something, is a lot of people believe Disney is very against the AI thing, and there has been reports Disney is the studio who has not asked AI to write any scripts, or at least there's no knowledge of them asking AI to write any scripts. There's no reports of that. It seems like everyone else except for Disney. And I think that's mainly because Disney is one of the few studios that has kind of an auteur sort of voice to them, and why would they want to? But Bob Iger hasn't said anything to the effect of like, oh, I hate AI, or I would never do AI. There's no quote, there's no specific thing. It's sort of just, I guess, the vibes that they feel about it. But I sort of get why they think that. And a lot of people think if Bob Iger publicly comes out, that there will be a downturn in it. I just don't think it's made by people who are just sort of people who hype things up. It was like NFTs and crypto, and I think certain of those things will be around and evolve into something. But like what we're looking at presently, I just don't see that becoming something. And if you're going to be a studio and make money off certain things and have an identity to you, if everyone can make a Pixar movie, or everyone can make a John Carpenter horror movie, what is the point of having a studio basically with an identity? Like, you'd have to remake all of the creative landscape to get this to work. And is financially that a good move? I just don't think so. Like, it just doesn't really make any sense if you really like think about it. Like like if Disney can make a Paramount movie just cause, and just like type in the AI, like just make it not enough to sue anybody over, and they'll make a Pixar that's close enough but not too close. And like I don't think they're really thinking about like the ramifications of like that really won't work in the end. Like it you have to have your certain identities, and like breaking free and being able to do like everything is like a pipe dream thing. It's like those like kind of grifters you see on TikTok and Instagram and stuff, who say like, get on your grind set, and if you grind every day, you can read books instead of making money, you'll be fine or something. It was the best of times is the blurst of times. Thank you, that. Cineram. Austin says Hollywood needs to put literal monkeys in front of a type. Okay, now I get why Cineram did that. Hollywood needs to put literal monkeys in front of a typewriter to make the great American novel. It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times. Cheers to you. Sorry I read Cineram's first, but cheers to you. That is, I love that joke. Let me go down. But yeah, I just think there's not a real thing against it, but it just does feel like people are going to need to curate it. And I do think like Billy Corgan, who is kind of a cringy guy for the most part, was saying that what he thinks is if you could just type in, I want rap beats from this person, this person, this person, and you have like suddenly 80 beats, and you'd be like, I want 37. His thing was saying was like, if you're an artist, like artists do that when they create stuff, like they'll not put out certain things. And when they look at what he was saying is like you have to have curation and sort of a sense of taste, which I don't agree he has currently, but he has a point where it's like you'll probably have people who can access all this stuff and they'll be making a ton of material, but not all of it will be good because they can't noodle around and figure those things out, because part of the creative process is doing it and seeing what works and what doesn't. And if you can do that with AI, I just don't really, unless you have the real sense of going through it as an artist, you'll have people who don't fully understand the form they're working in for a long time. I don't see this becoming a thing fully for 10 years, and I don't understand how it's going to be marketed. I think people need to, anyone who's doing this, I'm like, but how are you going to market it, and who is consuming this? Like that is my thing, is like I can say I'm going to make a thing, but who's going to watch your thing? And I don't think they've ever answered that fucking shit. And that's what you have to do. It's like if you're going to sign, like, look at how many people out of Sundance, people are like, this is going to be a huge movie. You can't manifest that. You know, it just, it hits or it doesn't. And right now AI is like, what was that Steven Zahn movie? Happy Texas, that everyone's like, this is going to be a huge hit and never worked out. It's like the biggest Sunday. It's like one of the big movie bombs that everyone forgot about. It's not very good, to be honest with you. But everyone thought Happy Texas, I believe it's the Steven Zahn movie, was going to be like this huge giant hit. And it didn't work out. But like you could have done, I've seen people do things on anything. Like you could make 20 million paranormal activities with this finance model. And like no one ever did. So I think like it's like that. It's sort of dumb. All right. Let's move on to Disney Plus stuff. This is kind of all the Disney Plus stuff, but the main Disney thing is what happened with them pulling shows. But I will get into Disney Plus related things after that. So, so Disney has announced, and unfortunately, this is a lesson they learned from everybody's favorite, David Zaslav. Oh wait, Adrian says something. Is voice acting over? I want to actually address this. So the thing is, when people are saying like, I want a movie where it's Marilyn Monroe and Tupac and they have sex all the time and it's the 80s and it's like Blade Runner. There's a thing actually where you can't do that unless you sign their life rights away, or the family does, or the estate. And so unless these people start doing that, which to my understanding nobody has, then that is not a thing. By the way, you cannot just do that legally. If at some point, and there are agents to old estates like Marilyn Monroe or Elvis or Van Johnson or whatever, but the people who say that must understand that there are legal reasons for that. And maybe Disney can do the Carrie Fisher stuff, but they still ask permission from the families because they know it would be illegal nonsense that they don't want to get into. So voice acting is not necessarily over like people think it is. Could we see things voiced by Tom Hanks that is a commercial rather than his brother do it? Yeah, maybe, but I think that's as much as we'll probably see from that. I don't think we'll have things where the Russo brothers are like, you can program this person in a rom-com. And I don't think that, for that to happen, I think there'll be it's a lot of legal stuff that has to happen. We're not there, despite what people are saying. Anyway, so Disney Plus is taking a page from David Zaslav and what he did in with HBO Max, where he, like with Batgirl, he made it a tax write-off. Like with Westworld, he got it off the service and put it on Pluto and other services, and they started making other revenue on it. We don't really know what we don't really know why they're doing this. That we just know they're pulling it. But before we get more to that, we have a super chat from Cinram that said, I read that Jodie Foster had her entire body and face scanned when she was in her physical prime. All she has to do is sign on the dotted line. I've not heard that. I'm curious when she did that. Was that like around Contact or like what? I only say Contact because that's the only, she doesn't do a lot of CG movies. I'm curious about that. That's interesting. There is a movie called The Congress it goes into that, which I think I might review sort of soon, which I haven't seen, but I've heard interesting things about it for a long time. I need to see it. But that's interesting. I'm curious when she did that. I'm curious if she signed. Jet Li said a similar thing when he was it going to be in the Matrix sequels, and he thought they would take all his moves and he wouldn't need to be there, and so he quit, basically, which is interesting. It wasn't for a specific film. That's weird. I'm wondering when you did that and if the technology and the data lives up. That's interesting. That's a good point. Thank you for that, Cineram. Cheers to you. And again, Cineram, if you would like to post that Gizmodo article, it was actually pretty interesting if you're wondering about AI and scripts. All right. So we don't know why they're doing this, basically. We don't know. But there's a long line of stuff, and a lot of it is really good. Supposedly, I think it's going to go off. If it's not going off soon, it'll be pulled on May 26th. So some of them, particularly Willow, which is a favorite of mine, the making of Willow also, Turner and Hooch, the reboot, Marvel's Project Hero, The World According to Jeff Goldblum, The Real Right Stuff, The Right Stuff, which I think, this is more titles that have emerged since the initial thing, which The Right Stuff was added to it, the Cheaper by the Dozen remake, The One and Only Ivan, Stargirl, Hollywood Stargirl, Flora and Ulysses, Black Beauty. I'm just randomly naming things or things I remember. Stuntman, Disney's Fairy Tale Weddings. What was it? There was one on here. Why the Last Man, Maggie, Dollface. What was the one? And I reviewed it. Now I can't. Artemis Fowl. Sorry, Artemis Fowl is gone. I know. Everybody calm down in the chat. Why the Last Man, Pistol, I guess that's the Sex Pistols one. Is that the Sex Pistols? I'm going to assume it is. 9/11, One Day in America, The Buried Secrets of World War II, Bin Laden's Hard Drive, Croc That Ate Jaws. Hold on, there's a thing called The Croc That Ate Jaws? Why would you take that? I don't even know what that is. But I want to watch it now. That's a cool title. I might watch that later. The Croc That Ate Jaws. That's a cool band name. And the one that I'm sad about also is, and you should see, this is the one thing other than Willow that you should see, is Rosaline is being removed from Hulu, which I actually shot a review for and never edited. Oops. So it's probably my fault. But you should check that out. It's really cool. It's Romeo and Juliet from Rosaline's perspective. I shouldn't have to explain to you who Rosaline is. But Love in the Time of Corona. Some of these I really don't know. But supposedly they're doing this to save money. There are still royalties, and there's still cost the money to have these on there. It's mostly The One and Only Ivan as well. But yeah, I do recommend Rosaline. That was a fun movie. We're not sure if they're selling them off to other services, which more services are considering to sell off them to other services, because that creates revenue, outside revenue, which Disney and a lot of those companies made lots of money off Netflix before they decided not to do that. And I think a lot of them are regretting making their own Netflix. But yeah, basically what Zaslav unfortunately did is he set this precedent where people saw that, oh, he saved the shareholders a lot of money. And although they've cut in terms of production, they're not making as many Marvel shows. I don't think we're getting our first one till October. Have we had one already? I don't think so. But we're right. I forget now. But they're making less content this year as opposed to the other years, and they're spending less. but they're also cutting these projects, and that's kind of unfortunate. Like Willow barely got 6 months. A lot of this stuff, like Rosaline, I know they put on Disney Plus and Hulu, but that probably, I think, got a lot of critical acclaim, and a lot of people thought it should have gotten a better shake even at the time. But we'll see what happens to all these. We'll see if they're just tax write-offs. I know for a fact that Star Wars thing they just shut down. I don't really talk about theme parks, but that Star Wars hotel thing is definitely going to be a tax write-off. Secret Invasion. Okay, thank you, Javier. And hello, by the way. I don't think I said hello to you. But we'll see what happens with all this. Will they be buried in a tomb somewhere for no one to watch? What is going to happen? I think that's a big question we all have with this content at this point, which is sad. I thought the Willow show was cool. It was very pro LGBTQ. I thought Rosaline was a cool, like, if you're an English major in reading Romeo and Juliet, I'm sure it's like a lot of fun. So I don't know. It's definitely unfortunate that this is how they choose to do this in a tough industry and give us less content is now their thing. If they are going, I also wish they'd tell us what they're doing with it and why they're doing it. Because the question is it just gone? Is it all going to, like, are they going to sell it all to Amazon for a couple of years and then it goes to HBO Max and then it goes to Paramount? Like, is that the deal? Like, I wish they were a little more clear because it's just a little unfortunate. Okay, so the other Disney Plus Hulu bundle news, although we do know that Disney Plus and Hulu will become one thing by the end of the year, we don't know if that is going to be called Star here, the other few countries that have Hulu, what that is going to be. We just know it's going to be at the end of the year. The new Futurama is coming out July 24th. The trailer looked like Futurama. I'm a little not super high on the on the Futurama reboot stuff. I prefer the original show. I just didn't find a lot of those episodes very funny. I don't know if I'll check it out or not, but it's coming to Hulu on July 24th. There's going to be a Freaky Friday sequel, supposedly with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. My thing with this is we don't know what the concept is, and they are talking to them, but it's like, I wouldn't mind if they did one where it's like a younger person should be in this too. I feel like part of it is seeing like how a kid lives and stuff. So I'm not sure like how they all. I would just like to know what the concept is. I'm a little that's my more hesitancy. I know they've done sequels to Freaky Friday before because there's a lot of these things, but apparently they are going to try to do that. And it seems like Jamie Lee Curtis is sort of doing the, I guess, Harrison Ford thing and rebooting every viable franchise she has. So I guess True Lie? No, I guess they've done that without her. I don't know what the next one would be. Maybe what was that? Horror Train or Scary Train? What was part of her Scream Queen era. It was like Prom Night, Halloween, and I think it's Terror Train. She could come back to Terror Train. I'm sure they've done a sequel. The other thing, and this was kind of other Disney Plus news, Loki season 2 is coming out 10/06 or October 6th, and Echo and going to have an episode a week like they normally do, but Echo, which is based on the character from Hawkeye, is going to just be all at once on November 29th. Now, a lot of people thought originally like, oh, maybe they're testing out a new model. Maybe they're like, well, we'll do this show this way. And there is kind of a backlog in shows because of COVID, because of writer strike, things like that, which is all true. But the reports have come out that there were a lot of problems on set in terms of Kevin Feige didn't like the show. He thought it wasn't very good. Some people said unwatchable. There were extensive reshoots. They retooled a lot of stuff. They re-edited a lot of things. Supposedly Marvel doesn't really want to deal with 6 to 8 weeks of press for this fucking show. They just sort of want it over with. So that's what the reports are saying right now. But I've noticed everyone's being sort of unconfirmable on things of that nature. But that's the word on the street that's just not very good, and Marvel just sort of wants to bury the lead. It's also to note that this is not the weekend of Thanksgiving. It is the week after when less people are watching things. So at first I thought, oh, maybe that's like the Friday of Thanksgiving. Like that could work out for Echo. I was like, oh no, they wouldn't even do that for it. Okay. TuneJ723 and hello TuneJ723 said Freaky Friday, the 1976 film, a 1995 TV movie, which I remember seeing that, the 2003 film, the 2016 stage musical. I don't remember that, and a 2018 musical TV film. I didn't know. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, we don't really know what's going on with Echo, but we do know that some decent reporters who are usually accurate and stand by the sources they have, except no one's publicly saying these things, have said that that's probably what's going on. But that doesn't mean anything because a lot of shows can have that. But it does. I don't know. I think it. Or a couple of people said maybe it works all together. Maybe it works more of an a binge thing. We'll see. Let's just wait and see. But it doesn't sound good right now. So if you had heard about this thing, Rick Dalton died last night or something, this whole thing. So Rick Dalton is the character that Leonardo DiCaprio played in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. When he at Quentin Tarantino's movie theater, they put on the marquee Rick Dalton 1933 to 2023, I think, something like that. And then Twitter erupted in talking about this and making fun of it, which was a little. I don't think that it's not great because like Jim Brown died just then, so like don't think that didn't look good, to be honest. But one of the reasons Quentin Tarantino does have more of the rights of these characters, so he seems to like to bring them up for various financial reasons. I'm not saying. Yeah, I mean, I know he does that like with Kill Bill for years after it came out. He would talk about it quite a bit, but he did come out with like a book and other things, and because he owns certain rights to him, so of course he wants this to be brought up because financially he definitely benefits more so than he did before. So yeah, a lot of people are joking about other characters like Don Draper died today, this fictional character died today, things like that. It is a weird move by Tarantino. We're assuming it's him. I don't think he said anything. I'm assuming it's him because it was on the New Beverly. It's just strange, and I kind of like. I get that he got a really good deal for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he really likes bringing up these characters a lot and promoting them over and over again and having them be memes, and good for him. But this was very silly, I gotta say. So, I mean, it's a fine movie. It's just like this is weird. All right. So Zac Creggr, who directed Barbarian, announced there was a lot of people circling to be in his film. Is it Weapons? Hold on. I didn't write that part down. Is because there's two films he was doing at once. Okay, Weapons. There's a lot of people circling, like Rooney Mara, a couple bigger actresses, but he went with the actress from The Worst Person in the World, which was a cool movie, which is kind of interesting. I'm a little surprised. God, her name is Elizabeth Olsen. Also say no. Daniel Richman. She is going to be starring in Zac Creggur's Weapons, which is interesting because this is a major studio thing. I'm a little surprised they went with her. They didn't go with like a bigger name or something like that. So I think that's actually pretty cool. I'm excited for that. It's supposed to be like a Magnolia type of multi-generational thing. It sounds pretty cool actually, and she was a good actress. So I think that's I think if those two were gonna say no, go with someone interesting, and it sounds like the studio's still down for that. So I wasn't necessarily well. Anyway, I did notice a lot of people responded when this was on Twitter and stuff about the Elemental box office predictions, and basically that people think Elemental could open not really that great. I think it's about 23 million or something, 20 to 30 million, which is not great for a big box office thing. But here's the thing, we are like almost a little less than a month out from it, and I don't think that's necessarily fair. Also, it's an original title, which means it's going to have a smaller box office. I've seen a lot of people compare Lightyear's projected box office to it, but Lightyear was a name, like people knew Buzz Lightyear before, whereas this is an original film, and it is going up against The Flash, which this is a pretty crucial kind of big hits every weekend kind of summer, the way we used to have summers, And I think they kind of overstuffed it, and Elemental definitely did get overstuffed, but I think also they want it to release in June, and they don't want to go against Transformers, but why go against the Flash? Because I think kids will still want to see the Flash. Um, I think they're probably hoping that putting this out in June rather than July with Lightyear will probably work out, because they'll have more of the summer to make money and stuff, even though there's a DreamWorks animated film and a Spider-Man film, and they probably should have pushed this to a certain thing, but with COVID and all the delays and all this stuff, they sort of have to. But I'm also like, the marketing isn't really in full force yet. If you ask most people a month before a movie, unless it's a super hype thing like, Super Mario, or a big Star Wars, or one of the bigger Marvel movies, or even the the Spider-Verse sequel, you're not really just the public's not gonna be excited yet. You really have to pump up the marketing, and I just don't, I don't understand people going like, "Oh, Pixar's over" and stuff. Like, nothing's happened yet, and even if a real tracking to me is like a week or two out, early tracking, even the best box office analysts wouldn't do that, So I don't know about that. It doesn't look good for that, but I'm also like, why are you going up against the Flash, which has had more advertising, has Michael Keaton Batman in it, has been advertising since the Super Bowl, which I don't think Elemental has. Has his character's been in other things, so I just don't think. I did see Nintendo's thing about they put Elemental in front of the bathrooms there. I think they were just moving it, and he was being funny. I don't know. I didn't ask Nintendo to comment on the AMC bathroom he was in front of. But I don't think, don't be ringing the death bells necessarily or something like that. I just don't see it necessarily. But also, like, all the Pixar original box office openings are not particularly strong. They never really have been. It's unless it's like a bigger holiday sort of weekend thing, but it does seem like most of these studios just want to have all the hits out when they're supposed to, but we are kind of like putting them on top of one, on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. Like, June is great. I think there's one weekend of June that isn't as bad, which, yeah, I'm a little surprised they're not doing that. I think because of Juneteenth has become a holiday now that is nationally recognized, and people get the day off and stuff. The studios want to have a bunch of stuff there, and they're hoping, like, I think it happened forever ago. You had like episode 3, The Longest Yard, and Madagascar, and all three made a ton of money, and that's probably what they're thinking. I think at a certain point you can't do that, but maybe it'll work out because of that extra day off for most people. So we'll see. All right, let's talk about Superman casting and Fantastic Four casting, and yeah, I think we can make it to. All right, we should probably hurry up because I would need to take a break, and then we'll do the segments and all that good stuff. So with what's going on with Superman is kind of interesting, but one thing to keep in mind, and a couple analysts have said this, if you look at the search for Superman actors before, in both the original Superman the movie and Man of Steel, at this point in the search, neither Christopher Reeves or Henry Cavill's names would have been reported or would have been considered at that point. So that's something to note. Seems like no one wants to talk about the Brendan Routh thing, so whatever. No offense to him, I guess. But what we do know is there's been a lot of young actors considered, but supposedly a lot of this is them just sending in their tapes. The more interesting thing that seems to be things that you can more comment on is that Nicholas Hoult is being heavily considered for it. Looks like he could be Lex Luthor. There's also been heavy rumors from a lot of major people who go into the scoops that Bradley Cooper was at least talked to about Lex Luthor. The theory behind that is like much like Gene Hackman in Superman the movie or Jack Nicholson in Batman, is that he wants to pick probably an unknown for Superman and giving Bradley Cooper, who's at least a name, and because apparently he is looking for a big paycheck, because he doesn't do big paycheck movies beyond Rocket Raccoon, which I don't think because it's a voice thing, probably doesn't give him that. That would sort of work out for him. I think that would actually be an interesting casting choice, but we'll see. I think they're just kind of considering and looking at every option they have, and because Bradley Cooper and James Gunn know each other, the studio is giving him a lot of time, because if you look at what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy, he took Chris Pratt from this guy in Parks and Rec to being, regardless of what you think of Chris Pratt, a major movie star, as well as with other guy. Sorry, the guy who plays Drax. Sorry. Oh boy, I'm just gonna drink some of this just to get me back in there. Dave Bautista, that's it. Okay. But the other big one of note is there's a lot of people being considered for Lois Lane. The one we know that the studio's kind of interested in, but think she is probably not in the age range. She's a little too old, because when they cast these things, they're not just thinking about the first one, they're thinking about the second one, the third one, so forth and so on, is Rachel Brosnahan. Apparently her audition for Lois Lane was really great, and is the one that really blew everyone away, but they weren't sure. It's really Superman casting dependent, but they are like seriously considering it. That's the only thing we could really say from it. Now, Fantastic Four, nothing's really happened either. But we know that Adam Driver is looking likely as Mr. Fantastic, which would give him a major franchise, so he could bump off to do his indie stuff between Fantastic Four and other Marvel things. We know Daveed Diggs, former Mr. Noodle, and Hamilton guy is heavily considered for The Thing. Those names really haven't changed. But and there's really hasn't been any, I haven't heard anyone for Human Torch at all this whole time. But we do know that they were really trying to work out something with Emma Stone. And she asked for a lot of money, which she should. And it sort of didn't work out because Disney is tightening belts, but they are sort of like, we're thinking like, well, she's at least a bigger name and that would help and stuff like that. As well as they offered it to Margot Robbie, but to everyone's understanding, she said no, but she sort of just gets offered everything. So I had read before they were like the other cast, depending on who they cast as Invisible Girl or Invisible Woman, but they also, I keep reading Adam Driver and Daveed Diggs, which is confusing to say, oh, well, they're not going to really heavily go after someone unless they do this. And then people are like, but they're heavily going after these other two, which doesn't, sort of a mixed message there. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Austin asks, will the Z-Boys and Herbie Fully Loaded be in Fast and Furious? I haven't heard of the Z-Boys. Wow. Man, that's a deep Cletus the Fetus cut there, Austin. Cheers to you. Thank you for that. I think it should be. It should go beep, beep. I did get some requests to talk about a particular cameo that was spoiled in Fast X. I don't talk about spoilers when I'm doing something with streaming because I think it's inappropriate. So just know I'll talk about it later when I review Fast X, but I don't want to do that and spoil things. So just to be clear on that. No, okay, we'll do a few things and then I should take a break so I can do segments and all that. So apparently, well, first off, this is the biggest news. I know it's a shock to all of you. The live-action Powerpuff Girls remake is officially not happening. It sounds like someone at Warner's just went, oh shit, did we not stop doing that? I thought we stopped. Or did we not tell anyone we stopped? And then they just announced it. It was sort of like such a nothing weird thing. I kind of think it was like some journalists went like, I mean, we gotta come up with a story. We can't just keep writing this WGA stuff. So they did. I don't know, but it's officially not happening still, I guess. All right, we'll do this first. Adult Swim is apparently moving to 6 p.m. It was already starts apparently 7 p.m., which I didn't know, because more people are watching that than Cartoon Network. That makes sense to me. If you actually watch cable, you'll see that most of it's skewing older because most kids, like my kids, don't watch linear TV, as it's called, at all. They barely understand like or understand how that works at all. I just think it makes sense. Adult Swim is booming. It has an older audience who will tune in still. But one thing I've never liked about the cartoon community, and a lot of people talk about this stuff, is they always talk about how the ratings are down and they're not appealing to kids as much through these like very linear traditional ways, and it's just not how kids consume content at this point. So to me it like makes a lot of sense. It's not controversy or Cartoon Network's dead. To me it's like, I mean, however they can get the ratings for the channel, might as well have things where people can watch it. So and I have a super chat from Nathaniel Foggy. Says, guess now great, now what will nearest Q look forward to? Nice. I like that. Nathaniel Foggy. Cheers to you. So apparently we learned this week that there is a completely finished Alien vs. Predator anime that Fox made and was going to release on video, and didn't, and is just in a vault after Disney bought Fox. I'll get to you, Austin, after I talk about this story. But what happened here, and this is actually interesting. Apparently, this was revealed on a podcast a month ago, and nobody noticed it, that it had been revealed. And some, I think this is also like people are looking for stories right now. But it was actually leaked by Joshua Izzo, who is the former licensed director at 20th Century Fox, and is the creator and founder of Alien Day in 2016, so he knows about the Alien franchise and Predator franchise, and it was supposed to take place after the last Alien vs. Predator, I guess, and between that and Alien 4, and the idea was that it would be released weekly in Japan, but in America it would be released on 3 different DVDs. This was 2016, I guess, so they thought this would work. Yeah, I mean, we don't know much about it. We're not even sure who directed it. That wasn't revealed in the podcast. A lot of people are guessing. But it's kind of weird. Like, why wouldn't you just release that on Hulu or do something with it? But apparently it is like completely finished. You could put it out at any time. An Alien vs. Predator anime. I think that's, that's pretty disappointing. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, a lot of people are like, is it really bad because it was direct to DVD? But then you're putting it, I heard some people say other countries, I didn't listen to the specific podcast, so I don't know. But if you're going to release it on TV, like weekly in another country, that assumes a certain level of quality. So especially in anime in Japan, you'd think it'd be pretty decent. So I'm a little confused. Like, that sounds like something that would go really well on Hulu, especially after the success of Prey, or the perceived success, because we don't really know the numbers, I guess. So that is what's going on there. It's a little weird, but yeah. Austin says FF, Fantastic Four, Dr. Destructo is disappointment. Oh my goodness. You watched all those like weird stick figure things they used to do. Thank you for that, Austin. Cheers. Okay. I want to, because we do have 2 segments, so I want to go down here and see what could we, oh my goodness. Let's just talk about trailers, because there's a lot of them. And I didn't, in the craziness of today, I missed a few of them. So we'll just talk about the trailers I watched. But they're most of the big ones. So the Nimona trailer, we finally saw Nimona, which is coming out on Netflix towards the end of the month. That looked really cool, style-wise and things like that. The thing is, it looked very Shrek-ish. It was like, this is what you traditionally think. It's like pretty much the beginning of Shrek, actually. This is a normal fairy tale, but here's me, Nimona, and it's like, that was a good announcement trailer for the character, but I thought it was kind of lame, to be honest with you. I thought the writing wise, I didn't get the best feeling. Animation wise, it looked cool. I would like to see more. That's a plot of the film. I'm assuming we'll get another trailer. I hope we get another trailer, but as a sort of announcement, I guess it worked fine. We also got the Killers of the Flower Moon trailer, the new Scorsese film, which looked really amazing. It was a really great trailer, like where Leonardo DiCaprio kept saying, "Can you see the wolves in this picture?" and showing various people and things. I think it worked. It was very kind of spooky. It seemed like a cool, like mystery going on within it. I know it is the story that is the beginning of the FBI. It was a film that was considered by a lot of people, including J.J. Abrams, as his follow-up to Force Awakens, which he didn't end up doing, obviously. But it looks very rich in subtext and really kind of, I don't know, anytime Scorsese is doing a thing on greed, whether it's, Casino or Goodfellas, those are always pretty interesting, fascinating films. So I'm really curious. And like a De Niro DiCaprio team up, I think is regardless of Scorsese was involved or not, that's pretty cool. It's like a weird Scorsese Avengers or something. I actually wish they had the team up of everyone from The Irishman and DiCaprio. I thought is interesting, but De Niro and DiCaprio are kind of his two, I guess, main, like, two of his bigger leads, and having them together is a really fascinating idea. So and seeing them together, and I am interested in the lead actress. I forget her name now. She was in a Kelly Reichardt film, which I've been meaning to see and review. So this gives me a reason to do that. But and she almost left acting until she got that role because Scorsese wanted her. I'm assuming because I know he sees the Kelly Reichardt stuff, and they had a very good premiere at Cannes just tonight. So it sounds really good. The Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 trailer looked, like a typical kind of Mission Impossible trailer. They just kind of feel like, this crazy stuff is happening, and, they're going on a mission, and, the MI people can't protect him and all that stuff. It's sort of like they're sort of the same thing, but you're always hyped for it. And, I don't remember all the various things. I know some people get into the whole logistics of it. I know it has somebody from the first Mission Impossible in this one, and all that stuff. It's just like, it seems like all of them are more about him protecting his bros, Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg, which is like a cool crew, so I totally get it. We had a trailer for Conan O'Brien Must Go, which is great that we're actually seeing his Mac stuff come out. When Conan O'Brien did his kind of remote stuff, when he'd go places, that was some of, those specials were wonderful. So I'm glad he's going back to that and actually not just doing a podcast. I think that's really cool. And finally, the trailer for The Creator, which was by the guy who made Rogue One, whose name I always screw up and say his name instead. I think it's Gareth Edwards, and Gareth Evans is the Raid guy. I've always gotten them confused. It's embarrassing. But it looked really cool about John David Washington saving kind of an AI little kid and trying to raise them, I think, or just try to save them. Look kind of, very Mando vibes kind of thing, but Lone Wolf and Cub is a killer, concept for a reason, and it looked really neat. I'm excited for him. I'm glad for him to come back. Before he did Godzilla and Rogue One, he made a film called Monsters, which is a really cool sci-fi film, very cool small science fiction film. So I really would say check that out if you haven't. You're seeing the other two and you're like iffy on him. That was the first film I was very hyped for him by him. I reviewed forever ago. All right, before I take a break, I wanted to do one obit, which was Jim Brown. Although he's considered, I guess, one of the greatest football players of all time, and was a major part of the civil rights movement in the 60s, he also was a damn fine actor in The Dirty Dozen, The Split, as well as Mars Attacks. He personally fought all those Martians, like literally with fists and stuff. I always thought he was really cool. I've seen a lot of 60s, 70s stuff with him. He's an actor I quite like. And I know I read a few things about he was not the greatest person in the world. However, I think he left a pretty long, huge legacy through his films and through his sports and through everything he did with civil rights. So if you want to get into him, I would recommend The Dirty Dozen. It's a great movie. You should see it anyway. It's wonderful. Anyway, I'm going to take a break and use the bathroom, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about Gorillaz Dare. Was it Wet City? I believe that's what it's called. Wet City, sorry. And then we'll answer questions. And yeah, I will be... Oh, yes, that's true. He was the inspiration of Cyborg. I didn't know that. Anyway, I will be right back. I guess chill till then, and we'll do a little bit more of the show. All right, cool. I will see you shortly. I'm going to turn this off so I can turn the AC on. It won't be super loud. So, go get a drink, go get a snack, and we will all convene in like 5 minutes or so. All right, cool. See you shortly. Okay, hello again. I am back. I think you can hear me. I hope you can. Anyway, what were they talking about? Anyway, let's just get into the segments here. And yeah. Oh, I don't think Moon Girl will get canceled because of the strike. Probably because Disney's cheap. Um, okay. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, you can. Okay. Sorry, just making sure. You're never completely sure with these things. All right, so continuing to do. Before I was doing a Gorillaz kind of reviewing various different Gorillaz videos, and now I've come to, I guess the next one is Dare, the Gorillaz song and video, which is off of obviously Demon Days. Gorillaz, this was actually their only number one in the UK, which is surprising. You would think it would be Feel Good Inc. or Clint Eastwood or something, but it's this, which is interesting. This one trivia I found that I thought was interesting is, so Sean Ryder of the Happy Mondays and Black Grape is the guy that is singing the main hook of this, and it was apparently called It's There, but because he has a thick accent and they heard it sound like It's Dare, they changed the name of the song to Dare, because it was originally called It's There, but everyone thought he said It's Dare, and thus why it is called that, which I was like, oh, that is interesting. I actually thought he was saying It's Dare. It does sound like that, and he apparently has said that in various places. It was like everyone thought that's what he said. But I like his vocal in this. The woman who sings in this is supposed to be Noodle. Noodle's voice, who is Rose's Gabor, and plays Noodle in the music video. The music video is kind of interesting and kind of simple, but because the song is sort of so chill in a kind of bouncy way, it works for it. It's basically a traditional kind of chilling in your bedroom music video, sort of like Brandy's Sitting in My Room or something like that. And Noodle opens her closet, and Shane Ryder's head is there, kind of like the brain that wouldn't die, and is singing the thing, has various computer things hooked up to his head, has sunglasses on, and sings the hook there. I do like kind of the chill vibe to this, but I also like it does have like a cool beat to it. I remember this getting played a lot on MTV at the time, VH1 and stuff like that. Like this definitely, like, although Feel Good Inc. is a pretty large, huge single, this was, I would say, I don't know, maybe right under this in Clint Eastwood, or that in Clint Eastwood. This was kind of everywhere, but for good reason. It's fun watching Noodle dance in this music video. She's just kind of like vibing with Shane Ryder. But it is kind of interesting they replaced who took over for the other voice of this, voice of Noodle. But I guess it works a little better. I think there's not a lot to this song. It's sort of like You've Got to Move and stuff, sort of like a typical like kind of advice, I think of it, song, like You've Got to Let Go and things like that. And it's sort of like the whole deal with it. I'm sure there's maybe a greater metaphor or something like that. I think when you look at like Clint Eastwood or Feel Good Inc., there's all these like ideas of the Industrial Revolution and things like that. And this is more of just a simple sort of jam, which is sort of interesting to go from like something that feels like a traditional jam but has all these layered meanings to something that's just like a very tight, nice pop song with like a cool guest and things like that. It sort of is like what makes that band so great and so kind of different and malleable in a lot of ways, because you can go from, like, I don't think Damon Albarn's on this at all. You can change vocalists, you can do all those things, and that's kind of also what's so fun about it, because you never know what to expect, but you always know it's going to be a cool song, a cool video, especially during this era where Demon Days is, I guess it's considered their best album, I would say so. But yeah, I like this. I like the twist at the end that it's Murdoch's dream, which seems a little unnecessary, to be honest. I feel like you don't need that moment. You could just have her chilling in her room, dancing around, and listen to a cool song. But hey, I think it adds for a cool, funny ending, and it's nice seeing Sean Ryder and Murdoch kind of in bed together, which was like pretty cute, even though it's all a silly dream in the end. And it just, you come out with a nice little jam, them Noodle dancing in a room next to Sean Ryder's head, and it plays all the weird sci-fi things that takes place in the Gorillaz HQ as it is. Yeah. All right. So the second segment, there's not as much to say about that one, I guess, but I feel like I said all the things. I thought the It's Dare thing was actually kind of interesting, to be perfectly honest with you. I was like, uh, was like, oh, that's funny. I also like that he was like kind of cool with it. Apparently, he was like, I mean, that's it does sound that way. So, Fired on Mars is a big show, and or a show we're talking about, a show when a lot of you will see this as a segment, I will have a review out, but everyone watching it live will have a review out on Tuesday. But the two guys who created it did do a short of Fired on Mars before. I can't find that anywhere. If anyone does, send it to me. I'd love to watch it and review it. But they did do a Adult Swim pilot, which you probably called Wet City, which you probably haven't heard of because it aired in 3 different parts at like 4 a.m. That's not an exaggeration. The two creators of that are that and this are Nate Sherman and Nick Vokey, and basically what this is about is a guy named Danny who's voiced by Sean Wing, who also appeared in Fired on Mars as Brandon, and it's basically he lives in an apartment in New York after New York's completely flooded in a post-apocalyptic world. He mainly watches DVDs and eats barbecue chips and hangs out in his apartment. And he's having a fine life. He lives in his apartment building. And then one day, the founders, as they're called, come, attack his apartment, fuck everybody up, and steal his friend, who is a cyber shark. Who's a shark who has like a Geordie LaForge eyes on him. And they chill, and he gives him lettuce because the cyber shark is a vegetarian. And so he decides to go after the founders, leave his comfortable apartment with DVDs and barbecue chips, and then go and find his cyber shark. And goes on a huge adventure, runs into all sorts of weird people, gets on the Founders Island, more adventures happen. You really have to watch it. But it is kind of very similar to Fired on Mars. The music is very similar, the vibe is similar, but it is, I think, Fired on Mars is more like the discovery of Mars and all that. This is more of a, if you've ever seen Future Boy Conan, which is a great Miyazaki show you should check out. A lot of your favorite animated shows are very influenced by Future Boy Conan. Trust me, I know. But it's very dystopian and weird, but also like the main character Danny is very chill, and so it has this very like lo-fi vibe about the whole thing, while also discovering this weird kind of sunken water world, I guess, which I like about it. But the music is very similar to Fired on Mars. The vibe is similar. I would say it's even chiller than the show that we would eventually see. I'm a little surprised Adult Swim didn't continue with this because it seems like a world you could go more into, and him and the Cyber Shark could go on more adventures. Maybe because the character feels so unmotivated. I mean, if you have infinite barbecue chips and a DVD player, I mean, what is there more to life, I guess? But unless your Cyber Shark gets kidnapped. But it's a cool little short. I actually am a little disappointed that we don't have Wet City as well, because it's such a weird kind of vibe. This like droney synthesizer music in a sunken New York City, while he's hanging out in like this post-apocalyptic world, and you kind of learn more about it as the show goes on in the 3 parts. The Vimeo link, which will be at the bottom of this video, or for everyone watching live, I will post it in the in Discord and stuff, and I'll try to post it actually on Twitter after the show. All the 3 parts are together, so I'd recommend you watch that. But if that for some reason goes down, all 3 parts individually are on YouTube. But it's I would say it's actually one of the few pilots I see where I'm like, I kind of wish this was a show. I like the vibe of it. I liked Fired on Mars, but I think this is kind of an interesting lone wolf kind of a show, because he is kind of a lone guy just chilling, kind of figuring out his own existential crisis in a weird dystopian world with trying to find his weird sci-fi cyber shark and what that all means. So I think the animation style is a little looser than what you saw in Fired on Mars. It seems a little closer than the small clips I've seen of the Fired on Mars short, but I think these guys have a definitely like interesting creative auteur voice. Like you can definitely tell it's by the same people. So it's I would say like Cornbread just say But yeah, that was dope and fascinating. That yeah. Oh, I know. You saw it 5 weeks ago. Okay, but yeah, I would say it is very dope and fascinating as well, and just an interesting little odd chill vibe of a show that if you like Fired on Mars, it's definitely the thing you should go to next. Maybe that eventually Adult Swim will get around to it, but it seems like they're kind of focused on other things. But it's cool to think of the other possibilities and other creative outlets they could have later on. All right, so let's get into the questions. I think we're gonna end in 10 to 15 or so because I'm getting a little tired. But I will answer these Patreon questions first. So everyone in the chat, get your questions ready there, if you could. All right. So first off, we have, and I did read. If a guy named Crystal is watching this later, I did your question during the actual segment about the writer's strike because it was prevalent to that. Nathaniel Foga asks, rather than have Hollywood be taken over by AI, what would happen if it was taken over by Alf? I'm assuming there'd be a lot more shows about cats, and Alf would probably have a late night show, which is a good idea. I wish they would do that. That would be kind of cool. I would like it. Alf, man, we need to utilize Alf more. Or maybe Salty should make that Alf video. Jordan Bouchard asks, are there any books or book series you've read that you would like to see adapted to the screen? I'm not the biggest book reader, unfortunately. I did read Confederacy of Dunces, and I think, I don't know, that is a cursed movie adaptation for various reasons. I do think Paul Thomas Anderson could maybe do that one. I've long, yeah, I would say something like that. I'm just going to go with that one because that's the one that came to mind. But I still think that one could be made. Maybe if you actually had a foreign, like a French director, the guy who did Worst Person in the World, or more of an anthology thing. I think that might work for it, actually. Okay, Sinram said, if you were... Sorry, let me drink some water. Sinram said, if you were forced under penalty of death to pick a movie to be the next if Wes Anderson made this AI bullshit, would you choose Jurassic Park, Close Encounters, Minority Report, or Death? If your choice is one of these movies, please also state casting preferences. Okay. I would... Although I think Close Encounters would actually make the best movie of these choices, I would think the more fascinating one to watch one of those videos for would, because Close Encounters, you could have Owen Wilson be Richard Dreyfuss, and you could have, probably be like Scarlett Johansson, knowing him, be the woman he's with, and Wes Anderson, or who would you get to do Francois Truffaut? I guess that would just be Adrian Brody or something, although it should be a director, to be honest with you. But see, there's not enough to do with that. But Jurassic Park, but I would see that movie if he ever made a Close Encounters remake, I guess. But Jurassic Park, I guess you'd have for Sam Neill. Sorry. Who would you get for Sam Neill? Not Adrian Brody. You know what? I think he would do Jesse Plemons, even though that's not a Wes Anderson. See, the problem with these is you have to be really uncreative because you have to pick people who have been in Wes Anderson movies so it fits the style. But that's not what Wes Anderson does when he casts a lot of times. He messes with it and has somebody weird, and so it's sort of, yeah, I guess you'd have to pick. I guess Ed Norton would be Sam Neill, and no, Ben Stiller would be Sam Neill, and then Luke Wilson would be Jeff Goldblum, and Laura Dern, I guess, would probably end up being Scarlett Johansson, and then or Frances McDormand be Laura Dern then, and I don't. Then when you get down the line, who would be the guy who ran it? Would be, I guess you could get Harrison. See, you'd have to pick someone. You could do Danny Glover, and then yeah, I guess that sort of works. I can't. Who's the guy who was like clever girl? Who would you get to do that? That would be Adrian Brody. That's a cool character. That always stunk that they killed that guy off. That was like, I forget his name. I know he has a name, and I know they've done comics and stuff. But that's like one of like the best Jurassic Park characters that you'd love to see expanded upon. But you know, whatever. He got a cool part in a better movie, so it works out for him. All right, Austin with the typical Austin question. Hey Jim, what a great show. Firstly, an AI isn't writing. It's me. I figured. My question for you this time is: with James Gunn leaving to creatively run DC, Marvel is like, I feel like lost a lot of interesting directors. My question for you is: what directors would you like to see make a Marvel movie now? One rule: you can't say Edgar Wright or someone who's already made one. That was a good point. It's funny actually, when I copied this, I almost wrote Austin's name as Edgar Wright. So I don't know if that helps. I don't know who you would get. I've often thought the Duffer Brothers would do a good X-Men movie and actually would work really well with the MCU. I know that's a really boring choice, but I just feel it just would work too perfectly for me. I don't know if there's anyone currently who would also want to do it. And the interesting directors I like my two favorite and I think best movies of the year were like How to Blow Up a Pipeline and Skinamarink. And I don't think either of those directors especially the Skinamarink guy, but I don't think either of those would do a Marvel movie. And I think that's kind of what's indies going, the really interesting indie stuff I don't think is interested. They just don't seem. I don't think the How to Blow Up a Pipeline person is going to be like, oh yay, Fantastic Four, whoopee. So it would probably go to TV directors, and I wouldn't be surprised with someone from like Ted Lasso or Abbott Elementary, and you get TV directors from there, because I know there's a guy who's done most of the directing on Abbott Elementary. I forget that person's name. I feel like they would probably get. It seemed like they would probably be the next person that brought up to the bigger leagues. I also think Justin Lin, who's the reason that the Fast and Furious franchise is what it is currently, would actually do a good job, despite that when he did the third Star Trek movie didn't work out entirely, but I feel like he could do that. So yeah, I would say those people, but I think the problem is Marvel is almost too mainstream for its own fucking good. So I think that kind of hurts it, because there's certain people who now don't want to do that. You know, they don't want to have a studio. I mean, that's why they've lost a lot of directors, actually, because of their previs shit. And I think it's like they might need to figure that out in a better way. But they are kind of going more established. So I could see them even going, whoever the guy, and Will, if he's watching this later, will hate me for this. Joseph Kaczynski, there we go. Who directed Top Gun would be a good choice, but he has every option in the world. So I don't know. You'd have to find someone who really likes comic books, I think that's your goal, and I can't think of someone who does and has not directed a comic book movie, right? I mean, I can't think of anyone right now off the top of my head. So, you know, it also depends on what movie you're talking about. I think you have to find the right director, which they often are good at finding the right director for a project, rather than like what a lot of franchises do is just get big director and put them in there, and I think they're better at that. So we'll see when it comes to, like, I don't know what characters don't have directors right now. So I guess that would be a bigger one, but I think I answered it pretty well. All right, let's go. Modelo Butterfly. If you could make one energy drink based on a cartoon character, which will it be? I would, it's just occurred to me, I'm going to say Captain Caveman. I think that would work. Also Popeye would work, but it would be spinach flavored, which would be gross. When is Hired on Jupiter happening? They mentioned another planet. I forget which planet they mentioned that they're considering in Fired on Mars, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. What's going on there? So maybe at some point. Nathaniel Foga, is this the longest you've had a beard? No, because I had a beard in college. Then I'd shave it off, and I'd grow back. So I think I had it. I don't know. I didn't time it. I would say that I still haven't gotten to that yet. But, this is maybe the third longest or something like that. Mblood T, what the hell happened to that James Dean Vietnam War movie? Oh, yes. That was going to be created with the eye. I don't know. Some of these announcements are, like, interesting to talk about. And then, like, years later, you're like, say what now? What the fuck? What was that? And that's definitely one of them. Oh, this is an interesting one. Adrian Drizadogol, I guess. Sorry. Would you replace all child actors with AI if it will stop exploitation? I mean, I guess that would, but that's a larger question. I mean, you'd still have to like create a weird computer child and stuff. So I guess that's a little weird that you'd have that technology. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I guess it would. You know, you could put limits on those things, and that would be better. Because I don't necessarily think so much childhood should be run by working and making money and stuff like that. So that is a good point actually. Not plausible. Sorry, I just want to get everyone who got a question because time is limited. When did you decide you wanted to be a Mountain fan? Just because I'm not really wasn't good at shaving, so it's kind of like, well, might as well, so I wouldn't have to do that, I guess. Embla T, do you think the desire to AI is more telling to our culture on how people perceive art nowadays? Yeah, no, I 100% do. That people look at it more as like, oh, I have to deal with this artist or give this artist money, and I just view it as like content and this disposable thing that I consume, not that it's made from somewhere in a place of honesty and humanity and things like that. I do agree with that. Austin asks, would you eat the red Spider-Verse burger? I do plan to. I don't know if I'll make a video about that or not. I haven't really decided. I know there's like an all decked out one in Queens, and I've thought about going, but that's kind of far. I don't know. I mean, I know how to get there, I guess. Let's see. Cornbread asks, been watching through the Gravity Falls box set commentary tracks with my niece after work lately. You ever watch those? Good stuff. Alex Hirsch talks about Dog with a Blog more than I expect. No, I don't have the Gravity Falls DVDs actually, but that sounds interesting to be honest with you. Let's see. Nathaniel Fogg, favorite Peyton Reed movie? I'm gonna say Bring It On, probably. I would say, right? I can't think of another one. I mean, Down with Love's pretty cool too. Chad Kelsey directing Streets of Rage. That does sound cool. Do you enjoy cooking? I do. So I do like cooking actually. Put a good record on and stuff. Major Mekazawa, what do you think of each of the 3 Twilight Zones reboots if you've seen them? I've probably seen more of the 80s one. I remember that was okay. I didn't see the 2019 one. I've heard okay things about the 2019 one. I've actually heard the least about the 2000s one. So I can't really, maybe I shouldn't have picked that. I wanted to answer it. Sorry. Okay. Austin says, a question, thoughts about Conan Robert Smigel, aka creator of Dunkachino, David Cardi, and Kevin Nealon doing a podcast about the Lost Hans and Franz movie. I saw that you posted that before. I haven't really gotten into that podcast. I'm a little curious about it. I know Arnold didn't say yes, and that's ultimately how it was canceled. But that is interesting. I will have to actually watch it. Sorry I didn't get to, or listen to that. Didn't get to do that before the show. Let's just do a few more. Jordan Sloffalo, do you think schools should teach media literacy? Jordan Sloffalo asks, do you think schools should teach media literacy? I actually do. I think that is a huge issue because there's so many people who I don't mean like show Citizen Kane or something, just understand like where the message is coming from, what the message is teaching you, what they're trying to say from this, how they're sort of lying to you and things like that. My only thing with that is once people become smarter about media literacy, won't the media be smarter about finding ways to trick you is kind of another thing I've thought before. And I'll end it on I'm sorry if I didn't get to anyone. Nathaniel Fogg, got any plans for when Knockforce turns 20? I do not. I have a couple of years, so I'll think of it then. But yeah. Favorite fictional food from Not Plausible? I would say Ninja Turtles pizza because it looks so good. All right. Let's end it there. Sorry to end a little early. Noticed I was getting a little sleepy, but I wanted to thank you all for being here. There'll be stuff coming out next week. I hope you enjoyed this silly thing. Thank you for enjoying all this stuff, being here, being awesome patrons, and being as supportive as you all are. Yeah, give this a like if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys all have a good rest of your weekend and a good week. And, you know, watch some good movies and stuff like that. And I will see you all, I guess, next time. All right, cool. See you later. Subscribe if you would like to. And bye, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Peace.